So, Octavio, can you introduce yourself, please?
Yes, so my name is Octavio Fierros, and I go by Coach Fierros to my students. I am a middle school physical education teacher for the Los Angeles Unified School District. I work in South LA, in the South region. Um, I work in a span school, kindergarten through eighth grade, but I only teach a small group of middle schoolers, about 120 students right now that I have.
Okay.
I've been in the educational field for 28 years, um, but I've been teaching PE for 13 years already.
Yeah.
And I've been pretty much, been in any part of educational setting. I mean, I work in public schools before, private, charter schools. Most of my career has been in charter schools, as an elementary PE teacher. Uh, I have also worked with at-risk youth, kindergarten to 12th grade, including community college as well. So I basically, have, you know, not done it all, but just saying that I've been in the educational field and
For a
definitely,
while.
yes.
So, how'd you get into PE? How did you become a PE teacher?
Yeah, well, I mean, when I started working, in schools, back in 1996, I was offered a position as an after school program supervisor,
Okay.
where so I started coaching different sports, for that after school program. So next thing you know, I was like, you know what? I mean, I should become a PE teacher. So I went to school and earned my degree in PE, in bachelor's degree, degree in physical education, and the rest is history. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and you got hired at your school right now, your current school right now. How big are your classrooms as a PE teacher? You say you're doing middle school right now.
Yes. Like right now, since this is a span school and I only teach middle school. It's a small middle school. It's just like about two bungalows. That
Oh
we
yeah,
have. Yeah. So there's my largest class size is about 28 kids. Small. I'm not 16, so I'm
yeah,
blessed. Because of course, I mean, I have been in situations where I have taught, over 40, 50 students. And you know
yeah.
how physical education teachers, especially in the district, they have about 50, 60 kids per class, which is insane.
Yeah, yeah. When I worked as a dean at New Open World Academy in Koreatown, and
Yeah.
so a lot of the behavioral problems, happened during PE. It happened during to be there, and you know what? It was overwhelming for the PE teacher because I would say there was like 40 plus students in every classroom, right? So you got 40 plus students in a classroom. They all have to change before, they all have to take attendance, and some of them kind of leave and ditch a little bit. The campus was huge, and so a lot of the ditching problems, a lot of that, those problems happen during physical education. And so I was out there trying to wrangle all the kids together, make sure they're staying in PE, and make sure they're behaving. And so a lot of problems happen in these large class sizes. But it sounds like you're blessed. It sounds like the largest class you have is 28, and you said the smallest is 16.
It's about 12 to 16 students, so yeah, I mean, it might be, consider, I mean, that their enrollment, of course, like right now, after, post COVID, the numbers are going down, right?
Yeah.
They might be a little concerning here and there, but yes, overall, I'm blessed, that I have, that class size.
So what do you like the most? What do you like the most about being a PE teacher?
Well, mostly, building relationships, with our students. I think that our students, when it comes to teaching PE, this is where we get to know the students, how they behave in and out of the classroom, right? Because sometimes students behave differently outside the classroom than inside. So I like getting to know the kids in a very different manner, right, than regular
Yeah.
classroom teachers. So because in our one of the PE standards states that students should be socializing and having good showing responsibility, personal and social responsibility. That really ties, with the whole social and emotional learning, right? So,
Yeah.
I think that just getting to know who the kids are and how they interact, how they engage amongst each other. That's what I enjoy the most. Just by like getting to know them better.
Yeah. And what would you say, like, how would you say you get to know them best?
Mhm.
Like, you're the if somebody was to watch this podcast and they heard you say that, what would you say is your method of getting to know the students? Like, what is it that you do?
Well, first, I think like the first 6 weeks of school, it's that because they're a very crucial 6 weeks, of the school year. um, I, establish, of course, procedures and routines, right?
Yeah.
So during those 6 weeks, it's that crucial time when I get to, build that relationship, with those students, right? And the way I do that is by, doing like just icebreakers, team building activities for them, so that I can get to know them, but
Mhm.
also to get for the students to get to know each other in the class, but also, just for me to get to see how they behave. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? I mean, I know that like the first maybe the first 2 weeks of the school year, it's like the honeymoon period, right? So after that, that's when we get to see who we really going to be teaching for the rest of the school year.
Yeah.
And every as a middle school PE teacher, I mean, or as a middle school teacher, or high school teacher, that. Um, every class is different, right?
Oh yeah.
Every period that you're teaching, I mean, and so the class culture is different. So you have to make adjustments. You cannot just teach, the same thing to every single class all day, right? It
Yeah.
all depends on the class culture. So that's that's pretty much what I do. I mean, those first 6 weeks, just to build relationships, and then maybe by the fifth or sixth week, I start building relationships with the parents, and families. Try to include them now, and now adding just like calling parents with positive things about their kids, so that way I get to know their families too,
Yeah.
and that strengthens the relationships between I and the teachers and the students as well.
Yeah. A lot, February, we're in February going into March. A lot of times it feels like you're just holding on as a teacher, right? A lot of times it feels like you're just holding on till the end of the year. Things are
Mhm.
happening. It feels like you're in survival mode, right?
Yes.
How is it for you now in February? Now, moving into March, does it feel like you're in survival mode, or the it's maintain those relationships and things are going well, or how does it feel right now?
A little bit
Going
in
into March.
between. Yeah, a
Yeah.
little bit in between, because it's yes, I mean, of course, the kids are also in survival mode, right? You know what I'm saying? They're
Yeah.
already the days for spring break, right? So you're trying to also stand firm, with them, right? Making sure that they don't just fall behind or anything like that, or like they don't meet my expectations, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not afraid of resetting expectations. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, okay, you
Good.
know what? Let's go back and, go over this routine, right?
Yeah.
Because, of course, like I said before, I mean, those 6 weeks, the first 6 weeks of school are crucial. You don't want to be, resetting expectations every single time. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's why that's the point of those first 6 weeks, so you don't have to be teaching those routines in February or March or by the end of the school year.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a little bit in between. Just if things are getting a little carried away, then let's go back and reset expectations. And I anticipate any behavior issues before it really happens.
Yeah.
So if I see that things are going the other way, then I try to maintain some type of order before it gets worse.
Yeah. And what about students with really difficult behavior, right? What about students who have difficult behavior and they have difficult behavior with their teachers, and everybody knows these students at your school, right? Everybody knows the students with
Yes.
difficult behavior.
Mhm.
How do you manage students like that?
Just get to know them better, and get to know where that behavior is coming from, right? At our school, we are lucky that we have a lot of support, around those students, right? We have a full time psychologist. We have different counselors. We have a BSAP counselor. We have the regular academic counselor. There's just like different supports around them. But so for me, it's students that have difficult behavior. It's just like just talking to them, making sure that they're in the right place, they're okay, right? Because of course, I mean, especially with in the community that we live in, which is very high in poverty, we know that these kids, they come in already with issues, and that
Mhm.
is happening at home. So trying to understand where they're coming from.
Yeah, yeah. I've noticed that as well. Is that
Mhm,
these students, we don't know what's going on at home. We have no idea what's happening at home. And they
mhm,
come in and you could tell that something's going on, and they come to
mhm,
class and they come to school with their head down, they look upset.
mhm,
Um, and you really don't know what's going on, and you got to keep that into account when you're working with students like those students. You gotta make sure that you're not assuming things. You're not, they're it's not personal. They're not mad at you. Something
mhm.
happens. Something's going on in their life,
Yeah,
and you gotta see them as just just a somebody's baby, somebody's kid.
yeah, yeah.
This is somebody's child, and they're loved, and you got to look past the behavior sometimes. And I feel like that's the difficult part. I feel like
Oh,
when teachers have to look past the behavior and see them as like this is a hurting child, or just a child, somebody's baby. That's the hard part.
yes, and
Yeah.
and I think one of the things that I did when I started there at the school where I'm at, from the first day of school, I introduced myself obviously, but then after that I talked about cell phones, and so then here comes the okay, here
Hmm.
comes another teacher talking about cell phones, and I told him, you know what, I'm gonna tell you about cell phones. I have a cell phone charging station for you right here in my classroom, right?
Okay.
If you want to charge your cell phone, right? Here it is, right? And their their body language completely changed, right?
Yeah.
I'm here, and I'm gonna try my best to understand where all of you coming from, right?
Yeah.
But then again, at the same time, don't take advantage of my kindness. You know what I'm saying? And of course, these are kids that do not know me yet because again, it was the first day of school.
Yeah.
But for them to hear that, the first day, I think that was a huge, sigh of relief. Not just for them, but for me as well, thinking that, these kids know that I'm a teacher that's going to be, as understanding as possible.
Yeah. When you said cell phone charge station,
Yes.
that perked me up. I was like, oh, that's good. That's a
Yeah.
great idea. I've never heard of that. I never heard of a teacher having a cell phone charger station in their classroom or their area or wherever. That's something new. I've never heard of that, and I'm sure they loved it. I'm sure that they use it all the time, and it kind of keeps their phone away from them, and you're providing some sort of service to them.
Yeah. Also with with equipment too. You know how the district is. I mean, to get equipment,
Yeah,
it takes a while, to order equipment and get it right. So,
yeah,
but I get equipment, I mean, I spend a lot from my own pocket, and of course, teachers do that too. So, when I tell the kids, hey, you know what, I got you guys, a couple of soccer balls, or I got you guys, a couple of volleyballs for you to play with, right?
yep,
Just make sure that you guys, take care of the equipment. You're not, I mean, seriously, these kids, they know that they're very cautious, right? Oh, coach, I'm sorry, but the ball went over the fence. How much do I owe you? No, 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 no. You know
yeah,
what? You came up to me, and and you owned up, and that's what counts. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Right? I mean, hopefully someone, kicks the ball over the fence, right? But you guys are good. But
yeah.
so they know that I'm here for them, and and they repay me with that kind of respect. So
See,
that's a great feeling.
that's a good point. Like the fact that you're showing that you're there for them, that you care for them, because I feel like some educators don't do that. Some educators don't make the students feel like that they're cared for, that they're even liked. That they just feel like I don't know. You could tell that some of these students with difficult behavior aren't welcome. They don't feel welcomed at school. And for you to make that connection, for you to go ahead and buy balls and and buy the charge station and do all those things, you make them feel welcomed. You make them feel like this is their home away from home. That this is our PE classroom, and Mister F right here, he takes care of us. He knows that he's there for us, and I think that's huge. That's so important. You know.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so I like the way you talk with them, where they kick the ball to the fence and they're asking like, "Hey, like how much I owe you?" And you're like, "Ah, it's not a big deal, it's not a big deal, like." And I think that's another step forward in the right direction.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's good. Are there anything that you dislike about being a PE teacher? Like, There are some things that are like, you know what, this needs to change right here. This needs to change about physical education.
The fitness gram, and it's not.
I was just doing the fitness. I had the fifth graders do the fitness gram.
Yeah, yeah. It's
The fitness gram.
yeah, it's I mean, at least with the fifth graders, they're still like they still buy
Motivated.
in. You know what I'm saying? They love being out there, right? Now it comes when it comes to middle school, what I'm saying, I mean, and that's very understandable. I mean, these kids, now they're much more worried about how they look and all that, right?
Yeah.
So the whole body shaming and and bullying, comes across. So when it comes to oh man, I can't even do a push up, right? So the fitness gram has to be eliminated. I mean, I thought
Yeah.
that was going to be eliminated after COVID, but
Yeah.
seriously, I mean, they eliminated the whole getting the kids weighed and measured, right? But still,
Yeah.
it's still something with the kids, not being really comfortable, especially after the pandemic. Being at home for a year and a half and kids not being active, that was a
Yeah.
huge challenge too. So I think that that should be eliminated. I mean, and I dislike administering the fitness gram.
Yeah,
Yes.
I was a fifth grade teacher. I was a fifth grade teacher. Maybe was at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like 7 years ago. I taught fifth grade,
Uh huh.
and I gave the fitness gram, and I brought a scale. I brought a scale because you had to weigh kids, right? So you
Yes.
brought the scale, I had a digital scale,
Mhm.
and I did it real private, and I just did weigh down. I looked down, I just wrote down the weight, right? But that is a little shaming. It could be a little shaming, especially if the weight gets out. If somebody sees a number and kids make fun of another kid, that
Yeah.
is a little shaming. And you're right, the push-ups.
Hmm.
Some kids can't do push-ups,
Hmm.
and some kids can't run a mile. And,
Hmm.
but would you say that's a problem though? Like, because if they can't run a mile and they can't do a push-up and they can't, do a certain amount of sit-ups, I mean, in my opinion, I feel like that something needs to be done about that, right? They should be more healthy. That's my opinion.
Yes, right. But again, if you consider also other factors like, I mean, look where I work at, right? The community where, yes, there's parks around, there's gyms around, right? But these kids, they can go out. I mean, they go out in the streets, but it's you know, not as safe as if you were in a different community where, they can go into a park, safely and participate in different leagues, right? Or maybe in different leagues where they have to pay, you know what I'm saying? I mean, these kids come with very low resources, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, it has to do, a lot with, with that too, and right now, of course, with technology being so advanced, that kids are not active these days. I mean, they're not as active
Yeah.
as when I started teaching. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So there's a lot of factors that have to go, to,
And
you
I think that's a problem though, right? So they're not active. A child who's not active is a problem. I feel like, because they have all kinds of energy. They have all kinds of energy, and that
know.
energy needs to be released, right? And if that energy is not released in a positive way, well, then that might come in the form of this, misbehavior somewhere, right?
Hmm.
You know, you got cell phones. Kids are on cell phones all the time, on their tablets. They're on video games. They're on not so much TV necessarily, but definitely on their device, and that
Hmm.
keeps them from being active. And I feel like when it comes to their health, yeah, they don't have to join a league because it might be dangerous. You're right. Some of these neighborhood parks are dangerous. Gang members hang out. There might be shootings. Homeless people sleep in these parks and down south. There are parks around where I live right here that I wouldn't even take my kids to. I'm like, I wouldn't even take my kids to these parks. But health should be priority. I feel like, yeah, you could do push-ups at your house. You could do pull-ups at your house. You could do sit-ups at your house. And
Hmm.
I think the next thing is like, well, and it goes back to like, okay, what about, where's the parent involvement? Where is the parent involvement? How are the parents helping their child be healthy? I think that that's important, and I feel like we lack when it comes to parent involvement. That's what I see.
Yes. Hmm.
Yeah. So, I mean, and this might, I don't know how true this is. I don't know any statistics, but um, if you're a single mom and you had to work all day and you came home and you have to pick up your kids, they're an after school program. You pick up your kids, you come home, you have to make dinner, you have to clean, you have to do all these other things. I don't know if there's time for you to actually, like, let's do push-ups. Does anybody do that? I know as a dad,
Mhm.
maybe dads would do something like that, but I haven't seen moms do that because they're so busy. There's other things that they have to take care of when it comes to the household. I don't know. What do you
Well,
think?
yeah, well, that's why as a PE teacher, right? You instill those values, with the students. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, one of the national PE standards states that students should also be looking into options of how to be physically active outside of school,
That's right.
right? And so, so that's why we give them those tools. We give those students those tools like, okay, well, you can join a YMCA, or you could join a Boys and Girls Club, or you have your own after school program right here, right?
Yeah.
There's sports programs here after school that you can join, right?
Yeah.
And so these kids come back, and I have them research. I have them gone, doing some research, and projects on how to stay physically active outside of school, and the kids come back, to my class with brochures, from parks and or from Boys and Girls Club. Give me go ahead and go to a Boys and Girls Club and give me a flyer
Yeah.
from a sport league that are organizing over there, something like
Yeah.
that, right? So other kids know that there are actually options around them. Whether yes, I mean the parent involvement, it could be what it is, right? But I want them to also know that there are opportunities out there for them to be physically active.
Yeah. And if I'm gonna go back to the parents, I feel like it's the leadership in the home. I feel like it's the
Mhm.
leadership in the home. Like, your health should be priority. The most important thing is your health, and without your health, you don't have anything. You're done. And so I feel like that's not a priority. I feel like health is not necessarily a priority in,
Mhm.
most, I don't know, some homes. I'm just gonna say some homes, health is not a
Mhm.
priority. And
Yeah.
especially, about COVID. During
Yes.
COVID, everybody kind of just took a step back and, maybe gained some COVID weight and, was a little relaxed and watched a little too much TV and was on their devices too much. And,
Uh-huh.
and that caused maybe a problem with the health of our kids.
You know what? I agree, and I was going to get to that point, Mr. Vergara, that you know during COVID we saw a bigger lens of that. You know what I'm saying? We saw like a
Yeah.
bit the bigger picture. That oh man, these kids are not as active. But see, during COVID, I was also I was teaching in Huntington Park, right?
Yeah.
And Huntington Park, and at the time was I don't know if it's still right now, but was considered the most obese city in the nation. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Like, I
Yeah.
mean, restaurants, from left to right, in HP. So,
Yeah.
but then you look at that, and I mean, you're teaching PE, online, and not everyone has a basketball, not everyone has dumbbells, not
No.
everyone, right?
No.
So, so I had to be as creative as possible. Okay, you know what? Okay, you don't have a ball. You don't have a ball. Okay, you know what? Go ahead and get a pair of socks, roll them up, and make into a ball, right?
Yeah.
Oh, or if you're doing some juggling scarves, right? Just go get some plastic bags and we'll juggle some scarves.
Yeah.
Some plastic bags. Or oh, you don't have dumbbells. Okay, why don't you just go ahead and get plastic water bottles. Fill them up, tape the water bottles together, and then make 2 pound dumbbells,
Mhm.
something like that, right? Where the kids are, getting some sense that they can still be physically active even without all that equipment that they might not have or the
Yeah.
resources that they don't have.
Yeah, so during COVID, I was a dean of students during COVID, and I would pop into different classrooms during COVID, and I had to go in and check to see if students were present. How many little icons that were there. Oh, okay, there's 20 icons. Okay, all the kids are here, whatever. So,
Yes.
and I would pop into the PE teachers class, and
Mhm.
his name was Mr. Chan. He was a great PE teacher, and so he would be in there, and his thing was that he would he would do a little mini workout. So he would set his camera, and then he push back and be like, "All right, everybody, we're gonna do 5 push-ups," and he would do 5 push-ups, and then he'd be like, "All right, now we're gonna go ahead and do 5 squats," and he'd do like whatever 5 squats. Now we're gonna do it, and he would just like try to hit as many exercises as he possibly could. He had like upbeat music, and then he played like a little short video, some sort of I don't know, some sort of workout video, and he would go along with it with the kids. And that was his way of getting kids to be active, and he tried hard. I mean, this he tried real hard to get kids active. Now here's the thing. When I'm in those classrooms, all the cameras are off, right? All the cameras are off, and you just got like a little face or a name or something like that, so you don't know if anybody's doing anything. They're
Yeah.
probably not. I'm gonna say they're probably not. And then it goes back to the leadership, it goes back to the home, it goes back to the parents, right? If you
Yeah.
see that your son is in or your daughter is in PE class and they're just kind of sitting there, and just watching the PE teacher do work, and you didn't tell them to like, hey, let's go, we'll do it together. Me and you are gonna work out with the PE teacher. We'll do 5 push-ups, we'll do 5 squats, we'll do 5 sit-ups, whatever he's asking us to do. Together, we're gonna stay healthy and do these things. I feel
Mhm.
like that was lacking. I don't know if that happened.
Mhm.
I'm gonna say it didn't happen because I would pop into these classrooms. I pop into classrooms throughout the whole. There was I don't know. There's 40 different classrooms, and I didn't see too many parents in the background helping out. So I don't know.
Mhm. I say that it did happen, but
It's good.
for some, right? Right, and for some others who had their cameras off, right, it was because of a different circumstance. Like
Yes.
for example, like I had situations where kids were in the back seats of cars.
Yes.
They were
On the
still
on
like
the bus. On
yeah,
the bus.
yes, and they were still like they
Yeah, you're right.
you know what? I can't do jumping jacks when I'm sitting in a car, but I can still do this. You know what I'm
Yeah, you're
saying?
right. Yeah.
Right? Or, I will see some kids, that will be like, in their parents' work, in the fabric, right?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but I can't do this, right? Or, you know what, coach, I can't, bounce a basketball here because I live in an apartment and I'm on the top, right? So it makes a lot of noise, right? Or I'm right here with a babysitter and this is not my actual house. So there was a lot of,
A lot of
situations,
factors. A lot
yeah,
of factors.
yes, that that the kids were encounter, right? But what can you do? But then yes, but at the same time there were some kids that had the cameras off, and I mean, and I feel like yes, some of them would turn it on and then turn it back off. Okay, well there you go, right? Right? So,
You could respect the kid who said, you know what, I'm at the babysitter's house, or I'm at my parents' work. We work in the fabric district, and I can't do this. Or I'm in the back seat of the car, and they actually said that. They communicated that with you, and they typed in the chat, and they did all those things, and that shows a lot on how they were raised, and like their respect, and their responsibility. That's a good thing. And I did see that kind of stuff as well, because I would send messages to kids like, hey, what's going on, are you okay, mister, I'm in the closet because it's the quietest place in the whole house, so that's
yes.
where I'm at, so I can't do any of this. All right, cool, I get it. Thanks. Oh, I understand. And so I'd send messages like that. Hey, what's going on, what's happening, are you all right, what's going on? And I would check in with these kids, and they would have stories like that. Like, it's too loud. There's 4 people in this room right here, and I'm not gonna do that.
Yeah.
Okay, I understand. I get it. Cool. Just keep in touch with me. All right. When I message you, just keep in touch with me. All right. All right. All right. Cool. COVID was a weird time. COVID was a weird time for everybody, for PE teachers and for deans and for teachers and for
Mhm.
principals, and it was a weird time. Um, yeah, it was strange.
Yeah. Yeah.
But get rid of the fitness gram.
Yeah.
But get
Yes.
rid of the fitness gram.
Yes.
That's funny. That's funny.
Yeah.
What's the best part about being a PE teacher? If somebody wanted to be a PE teacher, right? If somebody was like, you know what, I want to be a PE teacher. If they saw this podcast, what's the best part about being a PE teacher?
The best part of being a PE teacher, it's knowing that you know knowing that you can actually play games with the kids
Yeah.
and earn your salary at the same time. I'm gonna say this because the kids, see, kids, of course, middle school they get so competitive, right?
Yeah.
they're playing a soccer game and they get so competitive. And I always tell them, you know what? Who's the only one playing this game and wins money and earns money? You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Who's that,
Mhm.
right? And they go, oh, that's you, coach. Exactly, right? You guys are taking it a little bit too seriously. But I think it's just, yeah, being around, you know, I mean, just seeing the different behaviors out there, right?
Yeah.
That and how kids, just socialize, right? I mean, they don't get to talk and they don't get to move as much, that in any other class. It's only in PE you get to see
Mhm.
them, right? They get to see who their authentic, selves are. The kids are being real. They, and next thing you know, the kids, are already talking to you, and and
Yeah.
they just talk about just about anything, right? And I like that because every day is different.
Yeah.
Every day is different. There's no day that's oh man, it's gonna be the same thing over and over,
Yeah.
right? The kids, they they love PE,
Yeah.
right? They enjoy coming to class. They know that they feel welcome, every single time. And I think that's the best part about being a PE teacher.
And I think that has a lot to do with you. I think it has a lot to do with you building relationship with the students. They feel comfortable and they feel like they have a safe place and they can have a good time with you. And I think that what you're doing at your school makes them feel comfortable. They want to come to PE because I've seen where they don't want to come to PE. Like they don't like going to PE. And it sounds like you're doing a good job over there at your school.
Thank you.
Um, I love PE. I mean, so I'm assistant principal, and during I have to do recess supervision and I have to do lunch supervision. So I'm gonna say 2 hours out of my day, 1 hour for recess, upper and lower, and 1 hour for lunch, upper and lower. I'm outside with the kids, so 2 hours of my day I'm doing supervision, and I love being out there and playing kickball and basketball and football and soccer and dodgeball. Any one of those games I love
Mhm.
playing those games. And I talk trash. I like to talk trash to the older kids. So I'm out there talking trash and we're playing basketball or dodgeball and I lose and they beat me sometimes. That's fine. We're all having a good time. Everybody's having a good time and it's a different feel. Like being on the court with the students is a whole different feel than being in the classroom. And you could build a different type of relationship with them. You know, that's what I like about, just playing games with kids. And I don't know if a lot of like the classroom teachers come out and have an opportunity to play with the kids or anything like that. But I think that if you do have an opportunity to play with kids, it builds a certain type of relationship with them that and it helps you when you have to deal with difficult behavior. What
Yeah,
would you say?
yeah, yeah. It's yeah. I mean, I agree with you. I mean, wherever you're building that relationship with the kids, and you know that in the classroom is it might be a little bit different, then yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey,
Hmm.
did you notice that after COVID, back to COVID, did you notice after COVID the students had like they didn't want to do anything? Did you notice a lot of student apathy? Like they didn't want to play, they didn't want to. Did you notice that in PE?
Hmm. Uh, uh, I mean, I was at a different school than where I was at right now, and I was a student at middle school,
Uh-huh.
and the middle school students that I taught, right? I thought that it was going to be like that, like where oh man, there's no participation, right? I mean, the kids been at home for 18 months,
Yeah,
so they're not going to be as active as before. But this kid came up with a lot of energy.
that's
It's
good.
like they didn't miss a beat. You know what I'm saying? They
That's
didn't miss anything from COVID. You know what I'm saying? They were eager to come back to school. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? They were like, oh man, you know what? I'm gonna just go back and just you know, um, just
Just come back. They're full of energy. They were tired of staying at home, tired of being in the same room with five people in one room. They were ready to get out and play.
yeah,
Right? Yeah,
that's where I left off. You know what I'm saying? So and that was great. I mean, and I was teaching what seventh and eighth grade only, right?
yeah.
So the eighth graders, they never seen middle school before. You know what I'm saying? Because
That's right.
yeah. So they didn't know what it was like to be in middle school,
Yeah,
right? Uh, so that was a big plus. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? They missed out on the whole drama or whatever the case is, right?
yeah.
Yeah, and then the seventh graders, right? I mean, they were like they looked like fourth graders still,
Yeah.
you know, right? So yeah, it's like they didn't miss a beat. You know, so I
Yeah.
was really, lucky that I had these kids that came in, they came back, and they wanted just to, they were tired of being at home.
Yeah. I
Mhm.
noticed, so talking to other teachers, that and just being in schools, that the academic classes, like whatever ELA and math, there was some student apathy. Like they didn't want to be there. They didn't want to do the work. They were like, do we got to do this? Do we have to do this? And there was some like pushback when it came to like actually finishing class work. But it
Yeah.
sounds like with PE, kids were just ready to go. They were excited.
hmm Yeah.
That's
And
good.
yeah, that was a great feeling. Yes.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. So, um, I always end with this, Octavio. Three tips for future educators or people that want to get into the profession. You've been in the field of education for a good amount of time. Do you have any tips that you could give for anybody coming to the field of education? That you could any advice you could give them coming into to the field?
Yeah. Um, I will say that you know you also you have to understand both the pros and the cons of becoming a teacher and being in an educational field. We are in a of course we're facing a teacher shortage right now,
Yeah,
right? Yes, the educational system might be broken. Yeah, yeah, right. But see, at the same time, I think that we need to have teachers that can go into the classroom with hopes that they can make a difference, right?
yeah,
So what I would really suggest is that you take on this profession and with hopes that you're going to make a difference in the lives of your students,
yeah,
right? That you are going to provide positive relationships, and that yes, that your classroom will be the second home, or for some the first home of your students,
yeah.
right? You cannot just go to work, looking and feeling miserable. Oh my God, I got this class tomorrow. I got these
Mm,
kids again, right?
mm,
Every day is different. Go in there knowing that you can, you know, provide some structure for these kids, right?
yeah,
And especially in a community, like where I work in, right? I mean, I chose to work there. You know what I'm saying? And most of the, and most of these teachers, they actually choose where to work at, right? And they know, despite knowing that there's a teacher shortage and the educational field is broken, they chose to become a teacher.
yeah,
So give it a chance. Um, you have you cannot just go there and just like looking or feeling miserable about it. You just go in there and knowing that you can make a difference. A lot of these kids come in with lack of structure at home,
yeah.
right? But they, believe it or not, they crave structure, right? They want structure.
That's right.
They come in here and they say, you know what? Um, well, there's no structure at home. There's no, rules or anything at home. But you know what? I want someone who can come and discipline me,
Yeah,
right? I'm craving that. I want someone to do that for me, right? Believe it or not, I mean, I had kids that come to me and go, you know what, coach, you're just too nice with us. You need to balance it out. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, yeah,
these are coming from 13 and 14-year olds, Mr. Vergara. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Like, wow, I mean, to hear that type of feedback, right?
yeah,
So that's my advice, to these teachers. Just new teachers, whoever coming to a profession, come in knowing that these kids, do not have any structure at home, and you're the only one who can provide that for them.
yeah. One last question. You see a
hmm
lot of teachers quitting. You just mentioned teacher shortage, and it brought a question to my mind right now. What you see a lot of teachers quitting. Um, why do you think they're quitting? Why are all these teachers quitting?
Um, just disrespect to the profession, I guess. Right? Undermining their, like, I mean, they don't the education of our career is not as valued, right? Um, and I think that all started during COVID,
Mm,
right? That As soon as we, did the COVID shutdown and we started teaching online, there were still higher expectations for our teachers to teach through a curriculum, like, what curriculum? I mean, no one
Mhm.
has ever taught online, right?
Mm-mm.
And so, you still, oh, you got to take attendance. Well, how are you going to take attendance if we have cameras
The
off? And
camera's off.
yeah, right. So, you have all these high expectations, and, teachers were already like saying, you know what, forget this, I'm going to leave, this is not,
Yeah.
and, yeah,
You know,
yeah, go
it,
ahead.
it seems like every year there's more teachers quitting though, right? So like in
Yeah.
2020 there was teachers quit, then 21 is higher, then 22 is higher, and every year it seems like there's more teachers quitting, even though COVID is done. Like COVID passed already. We're already like what 4 years past COVID or something. Um, like and it's still happening. You know, you still got these teachers quitting,
Mhm.
and the question is like, well, why? Why
Well,
are these
yeah. Mhm.
in 2024? Why are so many teachers quitting now?
Yeah. Well, you would think that during COVID, we, okay, reality hit it, that
Yeah,
kicked in and said, hey, you know what? Well, now we know that, just being online, that, you know, test scores are not going to measure our student success, right? And next thing we come back from COVID and it's still the same thing. You know what I'm saying? It's the same expectations. Oh, we gotta get, we got, teach to the test, and right, the same thing that happened before COVID, and we
yeah,
didn't, it looks like, the decision makers of whoever these people are did not learn, from, the effects that these kids had during COVID. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? So,
Yeah, it's a
yeah.
lot of like let's take these tests. You have to take these tests. You
Mhm.
have to push this curriculum. There all these mandates are put on teachers, and as an assistant principal, you get this pressure of okay, now you got to put pressure on them so that they could do these things, and
Mhm.
it's just a weird system to be in. And I don't know if it's best for kids. It's not. I'm gonna say it's not best for kids. But it's just a weird system that we're in, and I guess good teachers, good educators shield all that pressure from their kids. I feel like you shield all of that from your kids. If you're a good educator, you're like, okay, I got all this pressure, but I'm gonna make it so that these kids don't feel all that pressure, that they can feel a lot. So that's, I don't know,
Mhm.
it's
Yeah.
it's interesting. It's an
Yeah.
interesting thing. But
Well, yeah,
yeah, go
but
ahead.
now in like every profession that has to do with kids, is having a shortage. You know what I'm saying? You
Yeah.
go to social workers and therapists, and what I'm saying, like anything that has
Yes.
to do with children, there's a shortage now. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
It's just the system is so broken, but
That's a huge question that I don't have an answer for, and I could just come up with assumptions and like, oh well, maybe it's this or maybe it's that. I don't know why. Some people say it's because kids are disrespectful now. Kids are disrespectful, and because they're disrespectful, what? These new teachers are like, I don't want to put up with that. So I'm gonna go ahead and leave the profession. But I felt like kids are disrespectful all the time. I
yeah.
felt like when I was growing up, there was disrespectful kids. I knew kids that were disrespectful and did disrespectful things, like that was across every generation had disrespectful kids, so I don't know.
Well, teachers leave for the adults because of the adults. They don't leave because of the kids. You know what I'm saying, right? And primarily with administration, right? I mean, no offense to you, I mean, of course, but I'm saying that there's we have teachers that that I have really heard about. Well, we're leaving because of my poor administration at my school, right?
Yeah.
And some of this, well, my principal has been a teacher before. Well, yeah, principals, forgot about how what it's like to be in the classroom now, right? So it's all these reasons why. But yes, I mean, so there are some situations where the teachers leave, because yes, kids are being disrespectful, but that's because of those adults who are in charge of them at home, right?
Back to the home, right? It always goes back to the home, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, it's a weird situation. I just made a TikTok recently about that, about how my success with students with difficult behavior didn't depend on parental help because I knew I wasn't going to get it. I knew I wasn't going to get this parental help, especially with students, especially with parents who had students with difficult behavior. Because when you call them, they have the wrong number, or there's the mailbox is full, or they don't come back to school night or parent conference
Mhm.
night. And
Yeah.
my success really didn't depend on them because I knew I couldn't count on them. So
Mhm.
I yeah, it's a tricky situation, and I don't
Mhm.
have all the answers. We don't have all the answers, but
Mhm.
my heart is in saving the educational system as best as I can. And this podcast and having people like you come on the podcast and share their experience and share their
Mhm.
ideas. That's one of the reasons why I have this podcast. Is just so that people could have a better understanding of you know in the South. We got a PE teacher in the South right here who has an experience, who could share their experience, and he seems like he has a really good relationship with students with difficult behavior and a really good relationship with all the students in his school. And I think that people need to hear that, So
Mhm. And also, yeah, thanks to your podcast too. I mean, I found your podcast, and I was like, I mean, and knowing that, you're, you know, around this, community and everything, I was like, wow, okay, I could finally find an educator and an
yeah.
administrator that actually, I could connect with, and I'm really glad that you put this together. So thank you
Yeah,
so much.
it's crazy. I'm going off now, like all these off tangents, but
Yeah,
you messaged me in Spotify. you
yeah,
you you messaged me in Spotify. I
yeah,
was like, oh, like I've never seen that before. I'm just
yeah,
gonna send him my link and see what happens. I'm gonna send him my link and see what happens,
yeah,
and here we are, and here
yeah,
we are. Like whatever, like a few days. I don't know how, like 5 days ago, or I don't know how long ago it was. It
yes,
was recent though. It was very recent, and
yes.
it just happened like that. Like, all right, he sent me a message. I'm gonna send him a message, and then you sent me back, and here we are. Here we are.
Yeah, yeah. And when Spotify says, what do you think?" I was like, okay. Well, let me see if Mr. Vergara can see this message.
Yeah,
And I mean, I don't know any other way to communicate with him,
yeah.
and we're here. But yeah, it's yeah. I listen to your podcast, every morning and every afternoon. Like
I
going to work,
appreciate
and
that.
coming back to work. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, this is great stuff, and I was practicing the interview questions. When I asked the questions, and then I turn it off, and then I answer the questions myself and go back on. So, yeah,
Yeah, that's funny. I try to have the podcast like a conversation because if I sit there and just like I have a list of questions right here on my left side right here. On my left side right here, I have a list of questions. Um, but I found that sometimes when I sit there and I ask a question, it seems real robotic, and I'm not trying to have a robotic conversation. I'm trying to have a more fluid, like let's just talk about PE and the
yeah,
educational system and the problems. And you have an opinion, and I have opinion, and we may not agree all the time, but we're just gonna share our opinion, and that's it. And we're gonna move forward, and hopefully somebody could get some information and gather some wisdom from the conversation that we had today. That's the whole goal.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. The way it's supposed to be. Yeah,
Yeah, right, right.
yeah,
Well, Octavio, thank you so much for being on the podcast. I greatly appreciate your time here. So thank you so much for being on the podcast.
yeah. Well, thank you for having me, Mr. Vergara.